So students, our next topic is production possibility frontier. So what is production possibility frontier? Production possibility frontier means what? It's a graph. It's a graph. Okay, so it is a graph. So what does this graph represents? This graph represents possible combinations of two goods. Okay, that can be produced with a given resources and technology. For example, if a producer has a certain amount of resources, then he must be producing, suppose, only wheat and rice. Okay, he can produce only wheat and rice using his resources. Okay, if he uses all his resources in producing wheat, suppose, then he can produce maximum amount of wheat. How much? 21 units of wheat he can produce. Okay, then he can produce 0 units of rice. Okay, so these combinations, 21 units of wheat and 0 units of rice, suppose this combination is A. Suppose he uses all of his resources in producing rice, then he can produce maximum of 6 amount of rice, 6 units of rice and 0 units of wheat. This combination is Z. Suppose if he has reduced a certain amount of resources in, if he suppose he is using certain amount of resources in wheat and certain amount of resources in rice, so he can produce 1 unit of rice, 20 units of wheat, and this combination is B. Likewise, this C, D, E, F, G you can see. Okay, if we plot these possibilities, these combinations in a graph, suppose this is the graph. Here in y-axis we have plot the rice, and x-axis we have plot the wheat. 0 to 5, 5 to 10, 15 to 20, likewise. Okay, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 is rice, unit of rice. Suppose at point A, at A combinations, he could produce how much? 21 unit of wheat and 0 unit of rice. See, A combination, this is 21 unit of wheat and 0 units of rice. Likewise, Z combination was like 0 units of wheat but 6 units of rice. Okay, and all these combinations are B, C, D, E, all these combinations. Okay, if we join all these combinations, then it will take a curvature. Okay, and this curve will will be called as production possibility curve. Okay, and these are the combinations of production possibility curve. Okay, it's true. Okay, and this production possibility curve this is based on certain assumptions. Okay, what are these assumptions? Assumptions means before saying something in economics, before making a theory in economics, we have to take certain assumptions. Okay, so what are those assumptions for PPF, that is production possibility frontier? The assumptions are amount of resources is fixed. Okay, we will assume that the amount of resources of the producer must be fixed, and there are only two goods can be produced. Yes, not more than two goods, because if it becomes more than two goods, then we cannot show it through the two-dimensional graph. Okay, the third one is constant technology. Okay, now let's see one thing. What happens if the resources of the producer will increase? Okay, if the resources of the producer increase, suppose this is the initial production possibility frontier with okay, and suppose resources of the producer increases, so what will happen? The production possibility frontier will shift towards right. So this will be the new production possibility frontier. Okay, if the resources is reduced, suppose, then production possibility frontier will shift towards left. Okay, so this is all about production possibility frontier. Before writing an exam, you have to give, if suppose it comes in exam, then you have to give the first of all the definition, and then give the table, and then draw the diagram, and before just drawing the graph, you have to give these assumptions. Okay, and that's how you'll get the whole marks.